wanted to check in with Shane Farnan, who is in addition to being our our producer here, he's also the Supreme Court reporter. That's your official title?
I think so.
At the Talk Radio News Service, and as well as being a law school grad, so you know this stuff. You know what you're talking about here. And you were in the SCOTUS, or the Supreme Court this morning.
Yes, I was. And
yesterday.
Now, the bench decision that you read was so nice that they supplied that to us. But I did want to comment on what Justice Kennedy wrote, or what he said, not what he wrote. Everyone can go read the decisions. But Justice Kennedy also gave a bench statement, but it isn't printed out. Some of the words he used I thought were really important. Now, I don't know if they're in his decision. I just went on his bench statement. But he talked about how the states that are accepting same-sex marriage now, talking about how they've recognized that treating those same-sex marriages as different, as being, he used the term unjust. He found that it was unjust. And he talked about how those states wanted to instill pride in themselves and pride in their unions, referring to same-sex couples, using the actual term pride, which I thought was really important.
Yeah.
Really recognizing that equality is here. If it's someone like Justice Kennedy, I know there's a lot of work to do.
Old school conservative Republican.
Sure. And everyone after the arguments, and me included, thought that this case was going to fall along states' rights, 10th Amendment states' rights. And it was Justice Kennedy who was asking those questions. He went a lot further. He went a lot further. Yeah. Now, and everyone's saying, a lot of people are saying that DOMA has been stricken down. There's still one section of DOMA that's still alive that has not been adjudicated, and that's Section 2 of DOMA.
Which says?
DOMA has 2 and 3. 3 was stricken down today, which essentially said the federal government can't discriminate.
Right.
Section 2 says you, state of Mississippi, don't have to recognize New York's marriage license of a same-sex couple. So it's a state-to-state issue. So your first guest who was talking about the full faith and credit clause,
right?
Essentially, the full faith and credit clause says states, you have to recognize the laws of other states. So Section 2 of DOMA still needs to be challenged if Congress doesn't act on it, and they'll use the full faith and credit clause.
Right.
So that's still there.
Cool.
Another interesting thing I thought it came out of this is that we have two groups that could probably make an argument that both groups are hypocrites. And the reason I set that up is because yesterday the court was arguably, I believe, an activist court.
Mm-hmm.
And today,
striking down a law that was overwhelmingly passed.
And the court did it again today.
Right.
Arguably activists striking down a law.
Right.
And both groups, whether you be progressive or you be conservative, were, if you were conservative, you were happy yesterday and upset today. And if you're progressive, it was the reverse.
Right.
And both sides could say, well, you don't like that case because of the same reason you like this case.
Yeah. And I will own that, by the way, because I am not a judge on the Supreme Court. I am a talk show host with an opinion, and when my side wins, I cheer, and when my side loses, I'm bummed out.
Right.
And that's okay. But I would say
the Supreme Court has an obligation to not be political.
Jurisprudence, that's not how the court is supposed to play it.
Right.
But that said, I know where you're going with this, so keep on going.
I have an argument that very explicitly in the Constitution that yesterday the court was wrong and today the court was right. Not just because I like those outcomes that I didn't like yesterday, I like today, is that the court struck down an act of Congress in both situations.
Right.
Yesterday, they struck down an act of Congress that was explicitly authorized by the Constitution.
Right, by the 15th Amendment, which said Congress may pass legislation to enforce this constitutional amendment. The constitutional amendment said that people shall not be denied the right to vote based on their race, basically.
Right. So if you really read the 10th Amendment, I know you have it in front of you there, but everyone yells 10th Amendment who is for states' rights. But the 10th Amendment is much more specific than that. It says those laws not in those areas not given to the federal government are then left to the states. So yesterday, when Congress acted under the Constitution, that was specifically under the 10th Amendment not left to the states. Whereas today, there is no place in the Constitution that says federal government, you can regulate marriage. You can dictate who gets married and who doesn't get married and what is done with those couples and how those couples are treated. That is for the states to do.
So if you accept that there's any legitimacy at all associated with judicial review, then even limited legitimacy, which was Scalia's argument today in his bench statement. He was saying
his bench statement could have been your daily take from yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, he went off today saying this court, no place in the Constitution. Well, let me just read the exact words. He said, the majority invokes what it calls this court's primary role in determining the Constitution's meaning. The Constitution assigns us no such primary role. Indeed, it does not assign us the role of determining the Constitution's meaning at all.
Right.
And he italicizes at all.
He does then go on to say, but when there is a case in controversy, accidentally we may have to, as
right.
quoting Powell.
Yeah.
So, and that's where judicial review is.
And he also quotes Marshall.
Right. So
he determine
he's not as hardline as you are, but
no, obviously.
Otherwise he would say, "Why am I here? Because
right.
I shouldn't be doing anything."
Or he'd be saying, "Hey, we got a case involving dogs and chickens here, don't we?"
Yeah, and contracts cases like the original Supreme Court used.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Shano, thank you for your analysis.
You are welcome.